What's up, guys? Welcome to the Madmen Pod, where we talk marketing, ads, business strategies, and we just shoot the shit. I always change it up every week, guys. Look, we're episode 20 now. We are officially a top 1% podcast. That is something to celebrate. I got my Chick-fil-A fountain drink right here. Cheers, guys.
I promise it's water.
I guess can we say our podcast is totally fetch now?
Oh, you're bringing fetch back. Okay.
What is
And there's a
fetch?
good reason why. There's a good reason why. We are talking Mean Girls on this episode. We're talking TikTok again, and we're talking a pretty cool thing that Yeti's been working on too. So let's get into it, guys.
Men go mad.
Who's gone mad?
Mad Men.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Mad Men.
I'm mad.
Walmart is still trying to make fetch happen. The giant retailer released this year's Black Friday campaign. It's a series of commercials featuring members of the cast of Mean Girls, except now they're all adults. The ads go through each of the Mean Girls' cast and show them as parents of today's Mean Girls. Filled with references from the movie, it almost feels like a sequel 20 years later. Is this a stud campaign for their Black Friday program or a complete dud? Let's hear it.
You know, I was sent this ad from so many people because of how much they loved it. I think this is great. I used to work out of that marketing department in Walmart in Bentonville, and they are doing so much cool stuff there. I mean, Mean Girls is an iconic Christmas movie that isn't really a Christmas movie, and it is so timely to bring it back now, 20 years later, right when we almost forgot about it, but we'll still remember all the nostalgia once we see it. All of the characters except Regina George were in the ad, and it's such a smart way of showing Mean Girl characters all grown up, living their new lives as parents, and finding ways to integrate Walmart products and categories throughout the ad. It paints a picture of so many types of parents and how they all parent that almost every parent out there will find one that is relatable to them. It's really good stuff over there at Walmart. I was a big fan of this, and it was cool to see so many people felt the same way. A lot of you listeners out there all felt the same way. I think that tapping into that nostalgia, especially around the holidays, is so effective, and Walmart's just starting out the gate with their holiday programming on a really good note. So good stuff, Walmart.
I don't get it. I don't get it. Like same as you, Samir. Everybody sent me this ad. It was like, hey, you got to talk about it. And my marketing chat that I have with a bunch of cool marketing guys and gals sent it to me. He's like, talking about how awesome this ad is. And I just don't get it. Like, I get Mean Girls. I remember I've seen the movies, and I get the idea of just bringing a little bit of nostalgia to this. But it's a good ad. But it's not like the way that the viralness of this thing's going. I feel like we're just stuck in the 90s again. Like, you got Taylor Swift with the re-release. U2 is doing a re-release, and I mean, there's like all these people are just like, we're just stuck in the same time zone from when we were in like high school, I guess. Our high school years are relived in the situation, but I don't get the ad, guys. Maybe I'm just a guy and that's what it is, but I've got, daughters and girls. I don't know. I don't get it, man. I just don't get it.
My first thought was, what a great position coming off the year of Barbie, right? Barbie was everything this year, and pink and girls, and and I don't know why, even though it's not the same franchise at all or anything, it just feels like the right segue. It's like the cap on the year of going from Barbie to Mean Girls. It just, for whatever reason, made sense to me. I think it's adorable. I think it's a really good ad. I properly watched it right before this recording, and I was smiling the whole time. I really thought it was well done. It was well executed. They hit all the right references. Even people that I forgot were in the movie, they made appearances. I thought it was really nicely done. So Liam, some things are just not meant to have deeper meaning. This is just cute, and it made you feel good. That's what you want at the end of a year.
Sounds good to me. I'll take the feel good part. I like good vibes, so I'll take that part.
Samir, I gotta ask, like, when you were at Walmart, what were some of the campaigns that you worked on while you were there that you remember?
Yeah, I worked on a handful of the holiday Q4 programs at Walmart, and back then they were pretty boring. We did very typical. There was one big toy drive that we used to run. Obviously, toys is such a big category for Q4 during the holidays, and Walmart was doubling down on it. So there would be a lot of kind of full funnel programming. You would see advertisement from all of these different big toy manufacturers, and then you'll see demos in store at Walmart, and then you'll see a catalog of all of these toy products. And like it felt very typical back then, right? It felt like the things that you normally expect to see from a retailer trying to sell product. I think what makes this really interesting is that they found a way to integrate all of these same holiday oriented gift products, but in such a culturally disruptive way, in a really entertaining way, in using the Mean Girls behind that, right? They added to the story of Mean Girls and raised those characters up into becoming parents that are now shopping at Walmart for similar products. So that would be the big difference that I'm seeing now with Walmart than when I was there back then, is that it was just so basic back then, so typical of just pushing product, trying to think about availability and discoverability and finding the right product at Walmart. This is an entire narrative using Walmart products. I think that was why I found this really effective.
And what's cool is like they're trying to grab that Target mom, Target the retailer. It seems like they're going after the mom that shops at Target and saying, "Hey, look, we have, we're pulling at your heartstrings from something that you really loved 20 years ago. Come shop with us now." It just feels like that might be the angle. So really cool.
Right. I will take us into our next Dutter Stud. We've talked about TikTok Shop in the past, and we're already getting a preview of what's next for TikTok, and it could be grocery delivery. Mike Westgate, an executive at TikTok Shop US, said that the popular sharing app was looking at ways to forge partnerships with retailers to do deliveries to support perishable products. So far, TikTok Shop is mostly for companies that have some sort of direct-to-consumer business and can ship physical products. It seems that TikTok is looking to expand access to brands that may not have space to play on the platform yet. Is this a dud move for TikTok to get into grocery delivery, or a stud?
I'm going to go dud on this, and the reason why is it seems random. I've actually shopped on TikTok Shop. We sell on TikTok Shop as my brand does. But it seems like they're trying to beat X, like formerly known as Twitter, to become the everything app. And they may try to do it, but it feels super ambitious and super random. And I really have this weird feeling that I don't think Americans will do what Chinese consumers do. So we all know WeChat is the everything app in China. For whatever reason, I don't think we're going to have that in America. I think we're very fragmented as a society. We, our user base for technology is not very homogenous. We still have like large portions of people using different types of apps and platforms and technologies and social media. And look, groceries is complex, man. It's a very tough category. It took the largest retailers and supermarkets in the world a lot of time and a lot of investment to stand up, and do grocery through e-commerce. And some are still not very good at it. That's the sad fact. I mean, and every day it seems like there's some other platform that's trying to tackle this. Uber Eats is constantly sending coupons on, trying to subsidize your grocery purchases to try to get that market share. But I just don't know if people are going to go to TikTok to go get their milk and bread, and I don't see that happening. So it's huge. I don't know. I just don't see it.
Look, if this is what happened, I mean, we're talking about TikTok partnering with some sort of like partner, right, between them and the retailers to offer this, like Instacart, Ship It, Uber Eats. There's so many now, right? One of these guys who are experts in delivery is probably going to be the existing relationship in this technology. And there's a platform there, right? People I see all the time on TikTok doing these like, come shop with me. Let's get a healthy meal at Costco, or let's go get a healthy meal at Deal, or like there's so many other like different platforms that do this. If they partnered up with these guys that already know how to got it figured out, I think so's a hit. We're gonna do this to get an integrated link. It gives access to the person to say, "Hey, here's my shopping cart." Kind of think of like Amazon cart, right? Like the Amazon, like, "Hey, look at my Amazon link tree, whatever you call it," and says, "Hey, here's what I would shop." Think of that as in like an Uber platform or Uber Eats platform delivery, right? And saying, "Hey, look, this is in my grocery shopping list. Just add it to your cart. Instantly add it. This is Adam's shopping cart, and go for it." I think there's something here. I think it's all about execution. I agree with the deal that the shopping market is different. Nobody's going to buy directly if it's directly sold through TikTok. But if they threw a good enough partnership with one of these brands that's already out there, I think this is definitely a stud move by TikTok, and it's really going to drive revenue. I mean, look, online grocery delivery is over $2 trillion of market share, right? So even if they get like a percentage of that, that's $1 billion, dude. Come on, that's worth fighting and trying this out for. So I think it's a good move by TikTok here.
I do like your approach on what you said about, hey, this is what I eat for, healthy eating or whatever, and you can call out those items. Like there could be TikTok creators that say, hey, look, this is the type of like protein cereal I'm eating now, and they're highlighting like Magic Spoon or something, and that's fine. But I don't know if that's gonna say, okay, now let me go ahead and build a shopping cart from this. So let me go ahead and add Magic Spoon to my cart, but should I now have to hit a $50 minimum or whatever to do a checkout? Like, I don't know if that's going to be enough of a trigger to do that. Affiliate marketing or any kind of influencer marketing with food items, and you're having to meet a certain grocery minimum, will just be difficult. I do think, especially with Mr. Beast chocolates now, Prime from Logan Paul, me talking about Magic Spoon, these are really good TikTok items that have good marketability. But when you talk about building a cart for minimum purchase of groceries, that's where I'm like, it's a uphill battle. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, the intent and ambition behind it, I think, is really interesting. I think we've seen, as seen on TikTok, blow up in so many different ways. And I think the aspiration of turn anything that you've seen on TikTok and buy it now, right? Think the cacio pepe viral recipe,
Yeah.
and being able to buy everything you need, perishable or not perishable, and have it delivered to your door. The aspiration sounds very compelling. I think even, and I think TikTok has done a really good job of leveraging their infrastructure in ways that they can. Even retailers have done a good job. I think Book Talk has gone so viral, and I've seen Barnes and Noble double down on that and have dedicated display space in their Barnes and Noble locations to support all of these books that go viral on Book Talk, right? I think the intent about what TikTok is trying to do is interesting. I think there is a proposition there that consumers may want to buy, but Adil, I think I'm with you. The infrastructure needed to stand this up is going to be really difficult. And Salim, I think you make a good point about like the $2 trillion grocery delivery market, that it will be that big. Is this just a talking point to get investors interested and excited about where TikTok wants to experiment? Like anybody who seems to want to touch grocery delivery has seemed to earn some sort of love from investors because they see the potential. But this seems really difficult to do, though.
It's something you guys mentioned a little bit, but the ones that could win out of this is somebody like a HelloFresh, like where they have like, hey, here's a recipe, order this recipe, and the box gets delivered to your house through TikTok Shop. Like that may be something. I don't know.
Actually, you just saying that totally gave me a new perspective on how this could work. So there are a lot of chefs, like TikTok chefs, that very well known now. I mean, they've literally they have millions and millions of followers. Like they'll do appearances with Tom Brady and Gordon Ramsay, and they'll do all that, and they built their whole following on TikTok. I could actually see them saying, I'm going to build you a 30-minute meal, and these are all the things you need, and then add all these items to your cart right now. And they've partnered with Kroger, or they've partnered with HEB, and then that local HEB or Kroger will already have everything curated. It'll just get added to cart, boom, checkout, done within 2 minutes. That's actually a really cool angle. I would have never thought about that. Touche, Salim.
Let's see who takes it. All right. I'm going to take us into our next dud or stud. Most of the world, it seems, has been mapped on Google Street View. Some 220 billion images covering more than 10 million miles of roads in 100 countries as of 2022. But what about hiking trails? Yep, there's a gap. Yeti saw the lack of these maps in nature as a barrier to access for everyday people interested in exploring the outdoors. So Yeti embarked on a project called Map the Gaps, where they got 13 of its brand ambassadors to map 15 of their favorite trails using GoPro cameras and then uploading them to Street View. The ambassadors all carry the new Yeti Hopper coolers on their hikes, making the point about how their soft coolers are portable and perfect for day hikes. Is this brand stunt a dud or stud for Yeti? What do you guys think?
So this optimistically, if I was thinking, I was like, this feels like Michelin doing Michelin star and kind of like bridging that gap between two completely different things and really making a connection on elevating the Michelin name with nice dining, right? But then I also think about what Under Armour tried doing with MyFitnessPal. So if you guys remember, MyFitnessPal was bought by Under Armour for a few $100 million. And to say it failed is an understatement. So they continued working on Map My Fitness, which is the running app, and you can do all that. But MyFitnessPal was the prized possession of their acquisition. It has hundreds of millions of users, and Under Armour had this ambitious goal of acquiring these multiple apps and then hopefully selling them Under Armour merch or Under Armour products. It didn't work. They sold it to some private equity company and they lost about $100 million in the process. The point is that this does feel like they're reaching for something. I love Yeti. I think as a company, they do a phenomenal job. I think this might be a little bit of a stretch. I hope they don't invest too much into it. I think it does bring a good connection to their core audience. You're right. They people who love the outdoors and stuff. I think it's very much up their alley, but I don't want them to do what Under Armour did with MyFitnessPal, invest thinking like this is going to be a huge generator of product buyers for them.
Yeah, I'm gonna look at this as from a brand partnership perspective about what they're trying to do here. They want to be synonymous with the outdoors. That's the brief. That's the mission here. And what they have found is a way to fill in the gaps of these unknown hiking trails that you can't see on Google Street View. I think that by itself is really interesting. I think there's a couple of reasons why this is a stud. Number one, this is a content play. That these are video walkthroughs that are playable on the Map the Gaps website and natively on Google Street View itself. It's an everlasting shelf life of content that now just lives with Google Street View. It's using GoPro enabled devices so that they have these extra features. Now it's dynamic video. It's you can now tap ahead. You can have 360-degree views from then move through the landscape. I think they've used an existing technology of Google Street View in a way to make content with it instead of using some other kind of third-party way. And now you have to build that tech and capability from scratch, but they've just plugged it right into Google Street View system. Number two, it's an influencer program. They use their brand ambassadors who allow them to create this unique content doing what they love, hiking with the latest, coolest Yeti products. I think that gives them a lot more of that brand love. Now they've given the social community a bit of a push to feature some of their products and to kind of talk about this whole initiative of mapping the gaps. And then lastly, they've inserted themselves into that organic hiker behavior, and that is planning ahead and previewing what the hike will be like. Even if I wasn't in the market for any Yeti products, you've already solved a need that I have, that I'm searching for the best hikes and most interesting hikes, but I need to see a preview of them. You've done it in a way that even includes your product, and it's going to be helpful to me, and you get to talk about your product to me. So I think there's a lot of win-win here for the need that they're fulfilling by offering this, the influencer amplification using it, the content that they've been able to create with it on the platform of Google Street View instead of some sort of shelf that they had to sustain in a longer model. All of these things are super creative. I think the content gets to live essentially forever organically in the vast virtual world of Google Street View. I think this was a total stud. I think they've accomplished what the brief was asking for, and that was like being a part of the outdoor world for the everyday person. I think this was genius.
I think the big winner in this is Google. I think Google gets free content on the Street View. They get what they need. They'll get more visitors this way. They'll be able to serve more ads. So I think the true winner in this is actually Google. But I do think, given what Samir just said, I think you're gonna get content. Content is still king for a little bit longer until AI takes over. I know there's a lot of discussion about that, but I do think that there's good value here in them getting content with their logo on it and having thousands of people look at it on a regular basis, right? There's a gap. They needed somebody to do it. Now the only challenge becomes is it's Google owned property. So tomorrow, if Google decides that hey, they're going to cut the logos off, then they can easily do that. I don't know if they'll do it anytime soon, but there is some possibility that Google does that, and you just take that risk. But it's gonna put Yeti in a place where they are synonymous. They'll have the content, they have the ambassadors, and it's just one way or another, it's a good play. They would have done it anyways without the Google. This is just taking something that they would have built content on regularly and say, hey, let's use it in a different platform, and it worked out just great. So I would agree this is definitely a stud move for Yeti.
Right. I'm going to take us into our first brand to watch. All of you parents out there looking for safe content for your kids, there's a company called Apparent Media Company that's a leader in safe streaming. Is partnering with Dude Perfect to launch the official Dude Perfect streaming service. It's a mobile and connected TV experience that will feature on-the-go customizable experiences that include full collection of Dude Perfect videos, including exclusive content, shorts, and interactive gameplay content. For those of you who don't know, you probably do. Dude Perfect is a group of 5 former college roommates from Texas A&M University who got their start in 2009 making trick shots, stunts, and stereotypes targeting 8 to 16-year-olds. It has amassed 60 million subscribers on YouTube with 15 billion views. And now they have their own streaming network. I'm highlighting this because this is, to me, an evolution of the creator economy. It seems like they have seen their peak of being masters of YouTube and making all that ad revenue, all the sponsorship deals that they're able to get. And now Dude Perfect has become a cultural icon. And this format of taking a YouTube creator and turning it into its own streaming app is definitely something to watch. I think we see a lot of these creators use all of these existing platforms to get what's now it seems like to get started, right? We're doing the same. Can you imagine one day having the Mad Men Pod as its own app on Apple TV? That would be pretty phenomenal, wouldn't it be? I feel like this has kind of introduced the next tier of creator content. And I think there's going to be a wave of really high, powerful creators that are going to be looking for this type of monetization, this type of tier programming and streaming rights, to where they have their own streaming service too. Back in the day, it was way too damn difficult to start your own TV channel, but anybody can create an app. And that's all they've really done here. They've done it with a parent media company because they want to have kind of that safe streaming badge for the youthful content that they create. They want to target them in a way that's still protected and legal and ethically right. And they still do a good job of that by partnering with them. But seeing creators create their own app for their content, I think that's going to be a game changer.
These Dude Perfect guys, I went to A&M with them. They were there at the same time I was. Tyler, one of the main guys, big beard, he was in one of my classes too. I mean, they're all around all American dudes. This is totally a Chip and Joanna type playbook move, where they built a following. Now they say, how do we own the platform now? And I still see these guys at Lifetime Fitness, like in Frisco, all the time, and they're very like just normal dudes. But the fact that they are building this now, it's just. Have you guys ever heard Colin and Samir, their podcasts? They're all about
Yeah.
creators and
Yeah.
really
I've
good,
seen 'em.
really good podcasts. But they specialize in like everything creator, especially YouTube. And when they were asked the question of who do you guys think is going to be, aside from Mr. Beast, the first billionaire YouTube creator, and they said Dude Perfect. Like it was almost an easy answer for them. I truly see Chip and Joanna, but in a different form with these guys. And they have 5 dudes that are still being kids at heart, and they're doing it in such a stealth way of building a solid business in the process.
Look, I think what's interesting here is if you look at this as a kind of a microscope of what the Messi deal was with Apple, this is the next evolution, right? Like we looked at Messi back in I think a couple episodes ago where Messi signed that huge deal where people are now subscribing to Apple TV to watch MLS because of Messi. This is the evolution of that, right? This is the kind of the microscope of that and saying, hey, look, if the content creator is great enough, I will pay a subscription fee just for that content, right? That goes back to anything we do. And I think this is a very interesting evolution of what happens to the content creator from YouTube to subscribe channels, right? Is it their own app, or is it actually a channel on, let's call it Apple TV or on Netflix or something, and saying, hey, look, this is their channel, right? I think there is some value here, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how many big media companies start to acquire these assets or these content creators to build channels against them and say, hey, look, watch this channel because subscribe to our network because of this channel, right? I think this is just the beginning of a whole new evolution of media that's going to happen from this. So good job for the brand to watch, and shout outs to the Aggies out there.
All right. So I was gonna talk about a different brand, and then I've really for a few weeks I've been wanting to talk about this, and I felt like this is probably the right time to do it. So I wanted to talk about fashion brands and CGI. So in an era where visuals and storytelling has become more important than ever in a brand success, many fashion powerhouses have harnessed the power of CGI to showcase their latest designs. We saw Adidas do it with the launch of Messi Coming to America. They draped large banners over hundreds of shipping containers and had Adidas helicopters floating above these big boats and everything, all CGI. Jacques Mus, up and coming luxury brand, they did this as well. They've had these large bags showcased as boats off the coast of Italy, and they've done some really tasteful things with really like cute, funny things as well with their bags, making a store look like a bag. And again, all CGI. Fenty Beauty recently did this. Louis Vuitton has started to do this. And what's really interesting is you would think that a technology company would use the power of CGI and really, make our reality look like there's large shoes being flown through Times Square and stuff, but it's fashion that decided to do it first. And I really thought this was innovative, and this approach has been super creative for these fashion ad campaigns where they are deciding to really put the product in your face and have it, it just looks amazing. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Go to Jacques Mus is a really good Instagram page to check out. If you haven't already, they do it really well, and just you'll start to notice it now that I've said it. But have you guys seen some of this stuff?
Yeah, so I've seen a lot of this, and I want to comment on your tech company versus fashion companies, right? So you look at fashion companies that have these huge markups. These you look at the other one would be the biggest revenue generators. NFL. NFL does a great job with CGI, right? You go to the halftime show, the halftime conversations. There's always these big, huge CGI players right in front of the stage. I think there's the ability for these guys to have this type of ad budget and go spend this type of money on this stuff is what helps them drive this. When you look at most technology companies, B2B companies, the marketing budget isn't that high, right? And I speak from experience, right? The marketing budget isn't extremely high, and that's why you see it, because there is the cost of sale or cost of acquisition per customer is so much higher that it's hard to justify the marketing budget against these. Right now, it's not an excuse for not being that creative around the CGI, but that's why it entails these guys, because they have these huge budgets to go say, hey, look, go spend $5 million on advertising and build these unique marketing campaigns. And you won't see that from big tech companies like SAP or AT&T because they just don't have the budget for it. The cost of acquisition is so high.
Yeah. You bring up a good point about technology companies, and it's total like segue. And I'm sorry, I'm taking your spot, Salim, for brand to watch, but we should talk about it because when Apple did their launch last week with the spooky launch, I don't know if you guys caught it, but at the very end, when we thought the whole launch was over, they said this entire launch was shot on iPhone, and it really made you think that wow, like this is truly becoming accessible to the average man, average person, average creator. Like anyone can do this now, and I love that Apple wanted you to know that you can do this, and not that it just really pushes the envelope forward. So whenever you say like technology companies and stuff, they may not have the same budget or anything. It's Apple. It's you're talking about these large tech companies that can do this stuff, and yet what Apple did was saying, no, now let's see what you can do next, which is really cool. I mean, like I said, this was a quite the segue, but it just made me think of that.
You look at Apple. I don't know if you've seen the behind the scenes, but they've got $1,000 drones coming in with this thing. It's not like shot on iPhone, but not supported by thousands of dollars of investments or tens of thousands of dollars of investment. So there's some caveat to that, but I mean, there's a lot of editing that goes on, a lot of CGI, as you mentioned, gives you the effects, but it's definitely something to think about how accessible this is.
I almost feel like it starts to open up a different discussion about, does technology and budget unlock creativity, or is it talent? And this is, of course, coming from the ad agency person, where it's always going to be talent, right? I think technology enables creativity. I feel like creativity still comes from the geniuses that are working behind the scenes to develop these striking images. And I think now with these types of examples of CGI, like we're seeing different talent, different skill sets being used to create content like this. I think that is really interesting now. So like, what's going to be that next iteration? Who's going to be the next type of skill set that's now going to be creating, ads for Fenty in the future? But it's not going to be your typical art director and social content creator. It's going to be these like CGI experts and graphic designers who probably do this kind of stuff in movies and art, but now they're doing it for brands and commercials.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, Samir. Like, when I see those CGI ads for these fashion brands, I keep thinking like, I'm a lot smaller than them, but how can I do that? Right? Like I'm starting to think about that. And what has helped is that technology has made it easier to even consider that. Even when you think of like, oh, I can just go on Upwork and type in CGI and see like who else can do stuff like this. And it may cost me a pretty penny, but it'll be something, right? And it's like, what it used to be is like, how did they do that? Now we ask, when am I going to do that? Or how can I do that? Which is really cool.
I think you got a point. I'm speaking on a panel with the graduate students of the University of Houston's digital media team, and part of their courses is CGI now. It's like, it's intense. So I want to see what their thoughts are as they go into this. So that'll be an interesting conversation. Now that I know about this topic, now I'm a little more informed about this topic. I think I'm going to bring it up on our panel discussion and say, hey, look, is this the new future? What does this bear intrigue to? All right, I'll lead us into our last brand to watch. A company that was worth over $47 billion is now worth a mere $44 million as of Monday, November 6th, today. When trading for these shares had to be halted. If you're guessing WeWork, you are right. A company that was once advertised as a SaaS company, turns out, was only a real estate company that had signed some really aggressive leases throughout the world. Now, with the interest rate high, occupations low, and most people just wanting to work from home, no one really wants or needs a WeWork anymore. The shares stopped trading at 84 cents today, which was already low last week at $2.52. SoftBank reported they had lost approximately $18.6 billion in their investment in WeWork, and they're probably the biggest investor in WeWork. But wait, that's not the brand to watch here. The brand to watch, actually, in my opinion, is whoever this equity company or whatever brand buys them is going to buy these real estate properties for pennies on the dollar now. And that's going to be the winner in this scenario. Somebody's loss is somebody else's win. And so let the bidding begin, and that's my brand to watch, or soon to be watch.
Adam Newman got out at the right time.
It almost seems like this next phase of WeWork is setting up for a sequel to WeCrashed. And it seems like a season. They have enough here to get to a season 2.
Or We Rise again.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, guys, we have a pretty exciting interview coming up. The one when we had Shama on last week, that was awesome. She was so insightful, and thank you, Shama. If you made it this far into this episode, we should have said thank you at the earlier point of it. But thank you so much for joining us last week. But we do have a really exciting interview coming up. So we did a brand to watch a few weeks ago about Salad and Go. They actually heard it and they reached out and they wanted to talk to us. So we're going to do a full-fledged interview with their CMO, and we're kind of excited about it. Like, we have some really good questions for her, and she's going to be, let's see what she has to say. But I think this is a wrap. This is a good episode, guys.
Top 1%. What a way to
Top
wrap it up.
1%.
Here we go.
All right. Stay fabulous, guys.
Ciao.
See ya.
Men go mad.
He's gone mad.
Mad Men.
You're mad.
The man's mad.
Mad Men.
I'm mad.